So today we're going to be taking a look at Galaxy Express 999. And it's one of those animes I remember hearing about for quite some time, but I just never got around to seeing it. So I figured adding this one in here would definitely be a good time to go check it out. But before I talk about the story, one thing that is interesting to note is that this anime was actually very inspired by a book called Night on the Galactic Railroad. Now, I haven't read the book, but I can tell you one thing is that what they both have in common is that they both have trains flying through space, and it's not as ridiculous as I made it sound, but yeah, anyways, now let's talk about the story. So it begins on planet Earth, where it's in the very far future, where not only do we have trains that fly around in space, but it is now possible for humans to live on forever when they turn their bodies into machines. And of course, doing so is very expensive. So now we start off with our main character, Tetsuro, where him and his mother are very poor and they're trying to get onto the Galaxy Express 999. But before they have a chance of making it there, an army of cyborgs try and attack them and end up killing his mother, and while Tetsuro is running away from them, he gets rescued by a girl named Meitei. Now, before I continue on, I will be honest, I have no idea how this name is pronounced, but there really shouldn't be any confusion to know who I'm talking about. So after being rescued, she ends up giving him a pass to go on the 999. And he does accept the offer, but before he goes with her, he ends up wanting to get revenge. So he ends up going to Count Mecha's hideout and ends up killing them all, and since then, the police are now after them. So now, Tetsuro and Meitei are now on the run from the police while they're trying to get to the 999, and once they get on the train, the stop they want to go to is on a planet called Planet Promethium. And the reason why they want to go there is because they can get a mechanical body for Tetsuro that will cost pretty much next to nothing. Because on Earth, getting a mechanical body will literally cost you an arm and a leg, and yeah, no pun intended. But since this planet is so very far away, they end up going to other planets that the train stops at. So they both like to adventure around, meeting new people, helping other people out, and even learn about government rules and laws that the other planets have. But of course, I should also mention that the conductor also likes to go on adventures with them. So yes, not only does the conductor like to do maintenance on the train and all that kind of stuff, but he also likes to go on adventures with them. And speaking of the conductor, he kinda reminds me of Vivi from Final Fantasy IX. Not only for the looks, and yes, he does look a lot like a black mage, but even the way how he acts sometimes kinda reminds me of him. And speaking of random characters, Captain Harlock actually appears in a few episodes, so I found that to be pretty cool. So yes, the basic of the story here is about Tetsuro and Meitei traveling all around space to get to that one planet that is very far away, where Tetsuro can get his wish come true. So while it is a pretty basic story, it definitely does have some pretty interesting twists and turns. And of course it has that one very important thing, it's called, character development. But yes, to be serious, it definitely does have a whole lot of character development. But one thing that really did take me by surprise is that this show is actually pretty damn depressing. But of course I mean that in a good way. Because a lot of the depressing things that do happen within this show, it really does make you think. Especially nearing the ending of the show, but of course I'm not going to explain that. And it also really makes you feel for the characters, not only the main ones, but even the minor ones as well. But yes, it is definitely a very emotional show. So now, let's move on to other things and talk about the animation. And I think the animation is pretty good for the time that it came out, but not the best. But if there is one thing that I will praise with the animation is that the close-ups on it are very well detailed. And a lot of the character designs are quite nice for how simple they are. So not a whole lot of complaints, and even then it's really just minor things, so really though, the animation for myself, I do think it is quite good. And now, when it comes to the show's music, I have to say here, the music in this show is actually pretty spot on, meaning that I think it's really good. Because every song that you hear is not only very memorable, but it also suits the tone very well. And that's another reason why I think this show can be pretty depressing at times, is because the music during some of the sad parts are definitely very emotional. So that's why I think the music is very spot on. So I really don't have any complaints about that. Now, as for the opening theme song, I think it's alright. Now, it may not be like my most favorite thing ever, but it does suit the show very well. Now, as for the voice acting, this one never got an English dub, at least the show never did. I know the movie did, but I never watched the movie, so I can't say anything about that. So we all know the drill already. I can't speak Japanese, so it's kinda hard for me to tell. But it does sound like there was a lot of emotion put into this, so I will say that it is probably really good, but that's just me taking a wild fucking guess. Now, before I get into the score, one thing I would like to mention is that because I did mention the movie, apparently the English version of the first movie was produced by Roger Cormack. Never would have thought that him of all people would actually produce an anime. So now, if I were to rate this one, I think I'm gonna give it an 8 out of 10. So I found this show to be pretty damn good, but probably the best part would have to be the characters and the music, and some of the dramatic turns of events. But everything else is pretty damn good enough. But one complaint I did have with this show is that it was a little bit fatiguing to watch at times because, there's just so many sad moments after sad moments, is that I just had to take a little bit of a break from it. But after taking some breaks and going back to watching it again, it was still very enjoyable. And don't get me wrong, the dramatic parts were done very well, but sometimes I just like having a bit of a balance. Where this show is mostly drop dead serious, and there's nothing wrong with that. But even then, I still think this show is still worth watching, mostly for the characterization and overall story. So with that being said, I really do think this is an old school sci-fi anime that is still great. And now that I got this show done, maybe I should watch some of the movies someday, since there are many different versions out there.